Hello, this is Angela, and today I'm introducing a monthly blab or bi-monthly blab with Coach Patti and myself. And this one's called The World Needs More Empathy. And I am just organizing to get Patti into the video. So this topic today, The World Needs More Empathy, was specifically because of the quality of Patti and myself as coaches. So today we're going to look at what is empathy, how do coaches, especially Patti and myself, use empathy, and how that would also be relevant to those looking at the areas that Patti and I both touch in. So Patti and I have met through her program, the Work-Life Balance program, and that's in the description in the link below if you want to check that out. Patti's a leadership coach and she's looked at how to balance different pieces of people's lives. Myself being working with love and relationships, I've looked at how to create that balance on the inside so people can enjoy their relationships with more balance and more freedom. Hi Patti, I'm just looking now to see if I can add you, and it should be inviting you now to. Hi Patti, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
And thanks to all of those who are watching as well. So Patti, today I was just introducing how we've met each other through your work-life balance program. And this topic of the world needs more empathy today, we're going to look at how what brought us together, how we have that connection to using empathy, you within your leadership coaching and myself within relationships and finding that inner balance in yourself, and how to use empathy in the personal level. So firstly, Patti, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and what empathy has meant for you in terms of who you are as a leadership coach and who you are when you work with people as a leadership coach?
I use empathy. Empathy, how I use in coaching is I can feel people's emotions. And when I'm talking to them and working with them, I can ask the questions that need to be asked to really bring them deep into what they're feeling and what they want in life. Empathy is about being able to the ability to be able to connect with other people's emotions and how they're feeling, and being able to read what they're feeling, and using it as a coach, you can ask the right questions to get them to realize really what they want or how to solve that problem, by asking the right questions, because it's within the client. They know
Mm.
what they need, what they want, and what they need to do. They just don't know how to get there. And as a coach, when I use empathy, i'm I'm getting them there because I can see their emotions, feel their emotions, and read their body language of what's really
Oh,
going
okay.
on, so that I ask the right questions. And sometimes we go very deep and they do get emotional, but that's what they need to get to where they want to be and to create the life that they want. A lot of people that I work with, they're very career driven and they don't have any personal life because all they've done is focus on their career, and everything else has been put aside. So I'm helping them get there to find out how to get what they really want in life. If they want a relationship, help them figure out what kind of hobbies they like, those kind of things. Do they want to have children? Do they want to get married? Do they want to have a life outside of work? Or do they want to keep promoting and have a career life, but also have a little bit of something else in life other than just a career working 24/7?
Great. So there's a couple of things I wanted to draw on. And for those of you who are watching who struggle with empathy or find what Patty's sharing about, she feels people's emotions, she senses what questions to ask. If you're an empathic person or you find that you pick up people's emotions and you're struggling with anything, please pop that experience that you might want us to troubleshoot. Because I'm going to share a few tips and strategies, and Patty as well, especially because Patty's in the leadership position, and I'll look at personal relationships or being an empathic person. So one of the things that you've shared, Patty, that I wanted to touch on in terms of a lot of people who might look at empathy, and in particular coaches as well. I've heard some coaches say that they don't like to pick up people's emotions, so that they may not actually, they might cut off that part, or they might, if they're feeling people's emotions, might step out of that, might try to do strategies that cut off the emotion or maybe sidestep the emotion. What I relate to you as a coach is that you actually use that ability to feel people's emotions, not to indulge into the emotion, which would be sympathy or pretty much letting the client just be a crybaby and sit in the emotion, but it's actually to go deeper into what's actually been experienced. And then from that point, you're building a strategy about what the client really, really, really wants, and also about who they really are. Because I think one of the difficulties with emotions, or I know one of the difficulties with emotions, is that we get stuck in them and we identify ourselves as if we are that emotion, rather than actually understanding what's that emotion presenting as an opportunity for us to understand better, and also how to express it and how to move beyond that emotion to understanding, and then what action steps to take. So when you're talking as a coach who uses questions to help people understand themselves better, can you share as a leader in your team environments how you've worked with a group of people? So there might be a lot of emotion, and you've used your empathic abilities to sort of go, hang on, how do we move forward? Can you share an experience or some story that you've had? I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm just
Yeah.
thinking of how, in a leadership role, that you found your empathic skills benefit.
When you can read people, some people will close themselves off. So you'll see that, especially in a group dynamic. I will draw them into the conversation and ask a question to them and pull them into the group dynamic. You have people that close themselves off, that just shut down, and then you have people that just try to take over, and maybe be aggressive. I will ask questions to other group members to get them involved into the dynamics, because you don't want one person to take over the group. And when people start feeling comfortable because you're asking questions and making them feel comfortable and engaged and safe, people will open up when they feel safe. When they feel unsafe, they won't open up. So if you ask the right questions and it not be confrontational, you will have more feedback and engagement in the group. It's all about making people feel comfortable and feel like they're being heard when you're doing group dynamics.
Great.
coaching sessions, and that everybody feels they have a voice. When people don't feel they have a voice, they won't contribute. And you want everybody to contribute, because if they're a team, that's what being a team is everybody being part of the group and showing their reason for being in the group and what they can contribute to the group.
Thank you for sharing that, because what I'm noticing is in a group dynamic, empathy is just what you're saying. The safety is necessary on a personal level or in one-on-one relationships with two people. But in a group dynamic, you need that safety too. And you're talking about groups in a team environment through professional situations, but the same goes for like families or any group, a volunteer group, a religious group. Without that sense of safety and being able to have a voice, people start to, as you're saying, put up the walls. And I know that you're very sensitive when people do that, and one of your gifts as a coach is to find that question that engages them, as you're sharing. So Patti, I think, can we go a little bit more into the area of what exactly is empathy? Because I wanted to really clarify that in the topic before we go further into more strategy building, because there are some misperceptions about empathy. One of the reasons I believe that we're having misperceptions about what empathy is that the world's very unstable at the moment. It appears to be. Things are changing quickly. Corporations are changing. Alliances between countries are changing. People don't know where they stand. So sometimes empathy is seen as sometimes takes too much time. Why should I put myself in your shoes? My life isn't going that well. I'm stressed. If you're an empathic person, you might be feeling everybody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So why should you stop? Because you're already taking on all of their energy. So empathy has become sort of like this burdensome thing. So can you share what is empathy from your point of view and how it's not what I just shared?
Empathy to me is the ability to to see, feel, um, imagine somebody else's emotions and what they're going through, and you sense it. And for me, when I can, when I'm working one-on-one with somebody and I'm asking the questions, I can see, if I'm face to face with them, what they're going through. I can feel uh, the emotion, and I draw from that. And yes, it is scary, because you don't want to go down to take in everything and then go down in that pit with them. You have to be careful. But by actually knowing what they're going through and being able to ask the questions to lift them up and come up with a solution is so important for them, because they need to come up with a solution to put it into action, and it needs to come from within. And coaching sessions, when you get there where they've been pushing that emotion down, and they release it, and they come up with the solution, takes a big, you can just see after they come to that aha moment, uh, that relief inside them, um, and the thankfulness and the gratefulness. For me, that's so important, is seeing them realize what they truly want, and to actually put it into action and do it, and be happy, and all of those things. But yes, you have to be careful not to go down in that pit, if that's where they're at, but be able to pull them up to succeed.
A beautiful coach once said to me, it's like holding a shining light. So if someone's fallen into the pit, you've got the light at the top of the hole and they're looking at that. And another teacher of mine also said, instead of jumping into the pit with them, you give them a ladder.
Yes.
But it's really also, as you're saying earlier, you're saying about creating that safe space in the session and between sessions as well, that you're holding on to the vision with the client. The client may not believe that in the vision or believe that they can be that step, they can't make that leap over the place from where they are now to a different location. But you, in a way, hold that and you hold the container of safety for them to make that step or to climb up the ladder out of the hole if they're in a hole. And that's a big thing that I've noticed with in the world, that there's a lot of change and people are sort of feeling more emotions in general. If it's on the social media, then social media is more dramatic and more emotional. People are so easily sucked into emotion these days. I mean, I used to be big on that too. But the other thing that coaching has taught me is to actually say, well, hang on, what's actually really going on
Mm-hmm.
here, instead of jumping into the emotion with everyone else. And that's what the difference with empathy is. It's looking at the emotion from a different perspective and not wallowing in it. And I think some coaches may not actually know that distinction. They might sort of say, get over the emotion or avoid it. But it's actually, what is that emotion showing you? And if you are an empathic person and you struggle with picking up people's emotions, that's a very important lesson to move through. And it might be a lesson that you need to do for a couple of years. Don't expect to be a master at it if you're naturally empathic and you pick up a lot of emotion. But one of the most important things you can do is to listen to the emotion and go, what is it actually trying to show me, and not wallow in the emotion and just start a dialogue with it. That's why coaching sessions like you're sharing, Patti, create that conversation. So you can look at the emotion and not beat yourself up about it. And then from that understanding, you can start to build a different strategy. So if you are experiencing that you get swept up in a lot of emotions, some of the tools that Patti and myself share, Patti has the work-life balance program, which you can check out below, because it's looking at different pieces of your life and actually understanding how to prioritize them or how to balance them. And also in the description, I also have an emotional management class, which looks at a protection tool, especially if you're an energy body, very receptive. It's an emotional management class, which will give you a tool to balance your energy so you don't have to pick up everything that's going on around you, and to look at some questions to ask so you don't get swallowed up by the emotion. So have a look at those links below and see if they might be of service to you. And the other piece that I wanted to look at, Patti, is empathic people and who they are. What are their traits? Because you've worked in different environments. I work more with personal relationships, and you've worked in more corporate and government and other teams. So empathic people can be anywhere. They're not just a nurse or a healer or our parents. Who are empathic people, and how do you recognize them, and who are they?
Empathic people, sometimes they'll take on um, the group dynamic, and their characteristics may change because they're feeling um, what's going on around them, and they get frustrated. They don't like it, um, especially when people are negative. They pick up that negative emotion, and they're trying to push it away, and sometimes they get sucked into it, and they get into overwhelm. It says them out. They don't want to be around that, and it over it it really they'll try to isolate themselves because they don't want to feel what others are saying, or they don't want to be around that negative energy, and it can really suck them down. And so you can tell somebody that when things are getting when people are gossiping or criticizing others, they really take it to heart. And sometimes they get caught up in it because everybody else is doing it, and then they start backing away because they don't want to be part of it. Um, they're Sometimes the personalities will change to what the behavior is with the group. Having a lot of empathy can sometimes bring you down because you're feeling you're seeing and you're feeling what they're feeling, and you don't know how to pull yourself out of it. So a lot of times you block yourself and you isolate yourself so that you don't fall into that pit. That's the
It's
downside.
interesting. That's the downside. An empathic person is someone who sucks up
They're
people's
very
energy.
caring people. They're the people that people go to and tell their problems to. They're
Okay.
People feel at ease talking to them about their problems. They're kind people, caring people.
Right. And recently I've interacted with a lot of introverts that say what you were saying earlier about blocking out people's energies. Some of them can be critical about other people's negative energies. So they
Yeah.
go through a period. Empathic people go through growth cycles too. So the behavior you're describing where they might withdraw can be a period of withdrawal. And I've also worked and connected with highly sensitive people that need to actually go into a different room. Sometimes, if they're picking up too much, they literally use a strategy to put themselves in a different room or a different space until they can actually collect themselves and then move back into the connection. And so, empathic people may be people who are learning how to balance that ability inside themselves. They're not necessarily, hi Cheryl, they're not necessarily people who are a drain on the group, but they're still learning how to balance that nature of themselves. And they become really important, like you're saying, they're people that people can go and talk to, or they can be people that act out a
Yes.
dynamic.
They don't like it,
And I said children.
so they act out. Um, and I've done that.
Yeah, so you've done it.
Lost control because it's just too much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Too much. So can you share a strategy, Patty, if you're with a group and you see someone acting out, what might be a strategy that you've used to help that energy get integrated in the group again, or help that person in the group?
I actually ask them, how, what are you feeling right now? What's going on? Um, discuss
How does that
discuss
move the energy? Yeah.
what is happening and why you're upset or frustrated, um, so that we can get down to what's going on. The
And how do you
little things
determine?
become big things. It
Mm.
There's something else down there. It's not just what we see on the surface. There's something else going on that's causing people to react the way that they are. It could be many years of frustration that is happening, and this one little thing turns into a big thing because it's many years of frustration, and it
And
just sets people off.
you and I have mentioned before that often a group dynamic can replay dramas or unexpressed emotions from the family dynamic of the person, and it
Yes.
comes out in a group.
Somebody
And
reminds you of a family member. Mm-hmm. Or an old relationship you had, and that person just
yeah,
triggers you. Yes.
yeah. So as a leader in a group, when you've seen someone acting out or unable to express, it sounds like you've gone up to that person individually and actually got them to verbalize, how are you feeling or what are you feeling? And it depends on the nature of the group, whether you do that in front of the group or you might have a
Right.
one-on-one.
A lot, yes. It depends on the person. You kind of get to know people in your group. You know when they feel more comfortable just one on one, or if they do want to talk about it in a group. A lot of times I'll talk one on one, and then I'll bring in the other person to talk about it. Because when you don't talk about things, the problem never gets solved. And a lot of times it's all misunderstanding. I really believe most people do not intentionally try to piss people off. I truly believe that, and it's a misunderstanding. It's different personality uh, ways that people handle things, or we all come from different backgrounds. We, like you said, with the family dynamics, we all could have different communication styles. And then when you actually sit down and you talk about what's really going on, the other person says, oh no, I didn't mean to do that, this is what I meant, you know. And then you solve those problems of the miscommunication. But when you don't talk about it, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and little things start triggering and causing a lot of negativity and criticism and things like that. So the more that you talk about things, and sometimes, you know, I'll give examples or stories of things that I've done in the past, and that helps people open up. Because, you know, I've made lots of mistakes. I try to learn from them and not keep repeating them, but, you know, we're all human and we make mistakes. We're not perfect. But being able to admit that you've done something offensive and you apologize for it makes you a better person, and hopefully that can help the damage that was done. Sometimes damage can't be, but you can learn to forgive,
Mhm.
you know, if you talk about it. And then there's some people that never say sorry and won't say sorry, and you have to learn to let that go too as well.
Yeah, so it's understanding as what I've noticed with some empathic people, when they have expectations that everybody should understand them, they find that piece very difficult. Some people are just going to be who they are. They're not going to be apologetic because really they don't have anything to apologize in their experience, and they probably don't. They were just being who they were. But an empathic person will take it too personally
Yeah,
and hold on to it in the negative way
yeah,
until they learn what you're saying. Just some people won't apologize, and that's who they are, and that's okay. And that's one of the learning blocks of a person who's perhaps empathic to a point where they've been doing it in a negative manner. But they also, empathic people, have the ability to see and understand people from different points of view, and that's just their different points of view. And so that was the cause for the title of the blab today. The world needs more empathy, because we're seeing a lot of positioning in our world these days, like this is my point of view and that's yours and whatever, I don't care about you. But really it's about seeing, well, that is your point of view, so I don't have to care about it, but I need to accept it. And that's different. I don't have to love your point of view. I don't have to agree with it, but I have to see it and accept it. And that can be a process. You're not going to immediately just be Zen and Buddhist and accept everything.
right.
So our world is going through a really growth spurt, like a teenager, about empathy, because we're seeing it in action in our daily lives, in our political world, and in our personal relationships as well. And I wanted to share about personal relationships, like an intimate relationship, a parent and a child, or a family member or a spousal relationship partner, because what we're also seeing in the world is a very different relationship to power in our personal relationships. Our world, previously, there used to be a boss who told us what to do, or in a family, there used to be typically a father, but I come from Italian background, so our mother told us a lot to do as well. And in my family, there was a lot of comedy, well, kind of drama and comedy, because my father was the boss and then my mother was the boss, and they used to fight about who's the boss, who's the boss. So I love that TV program from the 80s, Who's the Boss? Because that was when we were growing up. And I was like, yeah, that's like my family. Who is the boss? But the roles of male and female are very much changing in families now. And we're seeing a lot more men doing the nurturing maternal aspect. We're seeing a lot more women doing the career and the financial aspect. So that has definitely changed our empathic barometers, because we've had to throw out a lot of the rules about who's the boss here and what's right and what's wrong. And also, we're learning that even if I think I'm the boss, am I right to really tell that person what to do? Or am I right to expect that they should understand me and they should listen to my problems when I want them to understand? So, empathy in personal relationships is going through a huge, beautiful growth spurt. I'm thinking about teenagers here, where it's kind of a bit awkward and weird, but it has to be, because we can't keep expecting people to do what we want. We need to, as you said earlier, Patti, listen to them and go, well, what are you feeling and what's going on for you right now? And start to build empathy from a place of truly just listening and going into what that person is feeling and experiencing and their perception of the world. So I wanted to share that about personal relationships, because it's very important about what you're saying in a group dynamic. If we don't express, if we don't ask the person in a group or in a personal relationship, what are you experiencing? What are you feeling? And don't get them to communicate. What happens is we're operating on a lot of assumptions, and those assumptions are dangerous. They're literally putting us in roles that we're no longer playing. The roles in our relationships are changing, we're evolving, and things are different. So people need to be able to express more clearly what they're experiencing, so we can create better boundaries, better ways of communication, so we can create new roles or new ways of relating and communicating in relationships. So Patti, I wanted you to share a couple of things, but I just wanted you to talk on that piece if there was something that came up for you.
You don't have to agree with somebody, what their opinion is, but kind of understanding where they're coming from makes it a little easier to digest. All of us are going to have different opinions, but there's a way to be respectful about it, and not sit and argue and be demeaning. So having a little bit of empathy in this world, I think, is real important, because there's so many lonely people out there, and hurting people. And if you just show a little bit of kindness and respect, maybe we could change the world that we live in today.
Thank you. And Patti, you were sharing something. You mentioned that some people are lonely out there,
Yeah.
kindness. So I'm looking at how empathic people who may be feeling too much and then cut themselves off. You might end up feeling cut off, or you might be feeling overwhelmed. Some things that you've mentioned, you've got a blog post below about that's in the description, about the flotation experience.
Yes.
So what are some things that you've done to, if you're feeling cut off or overwhelmed, firstly, could you describe, because you are an empathic person, what you might do? What's that process for you that you do to get out of feeling overwhelmed or whatever you're experiencing, and to connect?
I like to have me time. I like to get away. I like to get outdoors. It helps me clear my thinking, and help clear me from overwhelm. one of my friends, one of my fellow coach friends, she actually told me about flotation, which is kind of show you. It's a pod and it's filled with Epsom salt, and you float, and it's good. I have a lot of back pain, so it's good for back pain, and you float in this flotation tank with Epsom salt, and Epsom salt's good because it pulls out the toxins in your body. And I like, when I float, I like to have the blue light on, and also have relaxing music, and I do it for an hour. I should do it a lot more than I do, but it's very relaxing, and it gives you time to, if pray about situations or meditate or just
Mm.
shut off. We all need that time to shut off sometimes and spend some time just for yourself. And I really enjoy it. I feel so much better after I do it, and I'm like, why don't I do this more often? Because I actually go when I'm feeling to the point where I'm burnout or overloaded, and I should do it much more. So that helps me relax, and it's really relaxing to me. If you're a person that doesn't like to be alone, or spend time alone with yourself, then it probably isn't for you. But I really like it, and my skin feels really good afterwards.
Yeah, my dad used to do an Epsom bath.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's what he was doing. He used to say it was for all sorts of other health issues that he had, but maybe he was just defragging instead of lying on the couch. Dad used to literally lie horizontal on the couch
Uh-huh.
because he worked very hard. And I'm a big, I do a lot of things horizontally because it literally, like if you think about the body system, we're working against gravity a lot, lying on the grass or lying on a couch. I've watched a lot of people do that, and I always think, why are they doing that? And it's literally just to get a different point of view. And I've been also doing a lot of connecting to nature to just get out of that. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, or if I'm feeling a lot of my environment too much, I know I'm not in balance. I'm not aligned inside. So
Right.
usually I go in and breathe into my heart, and I just anchor that into the earth. And I can do that in the house, I can do that in the garden, I can do that in a lot of places. But I've been doing it more because typically if I'm overwhelmed, I'm not aligned inside. And it's like you're saying, instead of waiting till you're at the extreme, it's picking it up during the week when you might feel a bit tetchy, or if I'm with my partner and a bit rude, like, okay, what's not right here? And that's one of the benefits of an intimate partnership. They can give you facial expressions that make you go, okay, something's not right here. What am I, what's not
Yeah.
in balance?
I know when I start feeling anger or frustration or overwhelm or burnt out, I know that I need to get away and just relax and get away from everybody. And this is a way to do it, and it's really good for your health. They've done a lot of scientific uh, studies on it,
Wow.
but it's something that can help somebody that's feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. It's another method that you can use.
And that reminds me of some of the people you work with, Patty, because you work with a lot of, I don't like the word workaholic because I don't think it actually does them justice, but you work with some people that are high achievers and may get their life out of balance. Someone like myself, I'll make sure I get meditation and that practice in daily, and it's part of how I am and who I am. But some of your people are in leadership positions where they're very much demanded and expected to play a
Like
certain
what's that?
role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at strategies also for people who really push themselves to the edge for a purpose, obviously sometimes, but sometimes at the expense of their own well-being and balance. So I wanted to address the leadership, empathy in leadership. because in our world right now, we're seeing a lot of leaders who we might label them as being one-minded and driven, and that's a negative thing. But also, there's a positive to that. When we see a leader that's driven, it's actually very good at moving things ahead. So we get that in our world. However, there's a lot of judgment about leadership in corporations where they're not thinking about the little people and they're not thinking about their employees. And I know that's a topic that you write on in great depth. You've got a couple of books about that as well. So, can you share how empathy in leadership is important in this world that we're seeing a lot of change and a lot of change in power structures?
I feel being a good leader is being able to really connect with your people that are in your management, in part of your that you manage. By knowing your people and understanding them and understanding their strengths and their weaknesses, and always pushing them to do better, or things that they don't know think that they can do, and actually watching them succeed and do it. When you're a disconnected leader, your people are disconnected, and they're not, and they don't feel that you respect or care for them, and they're not going to give their 100% to you or the company. And you may have a lot of turnover, and then you're spending a lot of money retraining people over, and new people and things like that. Your biggest asset is your employees, and it affects your bottom line. And if you're not showing respect and cultivating within the company people, whether it's through coaching, training, employee development, spending time with your staff and really getting to know them. If you're stuck in your office with your head to the computer and you never get up and say good morning or hi or how's it going to your people, they don't know you, and you're just barking out orders, and you only talk to them when it's something they've done wrong. What message are you sending to your staff? And leaders need to be good communicators, and they need to have a little empathy. And we're not seeing that in today's world. We're actually seeing the opposite. If more people really got to know their staff and actually saw how hard they work and that they give 110% every day, and all you do is come out and you find a little error and you point it out to them, and you never say, oh, you know what, you really did really well on this report, I really like it, there's a couple things that I recommend that you change, and you say it like that instead of saying oh and cross and red and all over it and humiliate them. They're, it's not going to be a very good work environment. But if you encourage your employees, and of course you have to point out their mistakes and coach them and mentor them and make them better and show them the way and give them the training and the coaching that they need. But it doesn't have to be in such a harsh way. It can be in a nicer way, but we don't see that often. So when you do have a leader that takes you under their wing and mentors you and shows you the way, that can make a difference to the company and their success.
It's a big difference. And I wanted to go back to what is the message when we have leaders or corporations that don't pay attention to the relationships and the respect of each person, from management to the people underneath management, and from the staff to management. When we have corporations that engender a lack of communication or clear delineation of boundaries and not really understanding the value of management and the people underneath that, what is that message that the corporations are putting out? Because I think that's what is actually creating this sense that there is no empathy within certain corporations. And I know this is a little bit alternative way of looking at it. However, I do feel I hear a lot of people
The way I look
I
at
was
it
interrupted.
is out there and you get to know your employees and you get to know what they're doing and ask them questions about their job and what could be more efficient, and change will happen and people will get excited about their work because they feel like they have a voice. When people feel like they don't have a voice or that they can't talk to people about, okay, we have this new project, it's not working the way we want it to work, I have some ideas I would like to tell you about it. But when you have a closed manager that doesn't want to hear anything or doesn't want to hear your point of view, then that can be frustrating for the employees. But when you can sit down and actually talk to your employees and say, what's working, what's not working, what can we do better, and actually listen, they feel like they're being heard. Even if you listen to them and you just point blank tell them, that this is why I can't do it this way, but you give a why. People are more receptive to that than just barking orders to them and telling them that they can't do that or they feel like they're not being heard. People feel like they want to be making a difference in their job. They want to feel appreciated and that they are making a difference. When they can't go in and make suggestions or talk to you as a leader, they become complacent and it just, they're just going through the motions. But when they feel like they're invested in the job and that they're being heard, um, they're much more happier. And your products and your customer service and everything uh, exceeds because people are happy and they want to come to work every day.
And one thing I've learned from the work-life balance program too, it's also if you're in a work environment that's truly not listening to you, what is that actually saying to you? Is it about moving on from the job? Is it about looking at another way to do your job, transferring within the company, developing a group outside of your company that can nourish you? Because that's really big stuff that I think a lot of people who are really frustrated with either their company or the job that they're working in, what is that actually saying to you about where you want to go in life?
Right.
And in terms of your personal relationships, if you're in a relationship where you're feeling squashed or you're feeling like you can't truly express, it goes back to what we were sharing earlier. What are you feeling? Because once you tap into that, then you can start to look at, well, this is why I'm feeling this way. This is what I'm feeling. Why am I feeling this way? And what change you can do from that place rather than just continuing to wallow in feeling stuck.
Right, you feel like a cage trapped animal and you don't know what to do and you're very unhappy and it's hard to get out of bed in the morning to go to work. But when you have something to strive for, another solution or a change within, maybe it's me. maybe it's this, or having some other outlet, like you said, maybe volunteer for something, if you know, or work towards another career, or ask for a transfer to another department, something new and fresh and exciting in your life, instead of the same old. That's where people become complacent and disgruntled and all of those things. But if you have something to look forward to, or you feel appreciated in your work and your job, and you're taking on new projects, or just, I think just feeling like you have a voice makes a difference. And so many people don't feel that way. They feel like they just go
Mm.
to the job and they're not making a difference, or nobody cares about them, or, you know, they're just there. You know, they're a number. Remember that old saying, I'm just a number? A lot of people feel
Yeah,
that way, that they, you know, that they can be replaced in an instant instead of being a valuable asset to the corporation.
great. Well, thank you, Patti, for putting that voice out in the leadership community and committing to that. And you have the Coaching for Inspiration Facebook page. You also have a leadership group for those in leadership
Mm-hmm.
that want to brainstorm about bringing that empathic awareness. And it's not just empathy, it's listening skills, it's team building, it's working with team dynamics. That's in the leadership group that you have on Facebook as well. And Patti, is there anything else that you would like to share with people before we close about working with empathy or working with leadership and empathy?
Yeah. Like you said, with creating a work-life balance plan for you, everybody's different. Everybody has different values. Everybody has different goals, or what they think balance is. Same with leadership.
Mm.
I always try to strive to be better, a better human, a better mother, a better parent, a better spouse, or a better leader. And the more that you become a better person, the better leader you become.
Mm.
Relationship is a lot. When you isolate yourself as a leader, how can you be a leader if you don't even know your employee's name, or know know what the employee does, or see the employee's work, how they interact with their coworkers, how they interact with their customers, how they do make a difference to the company. So being a better leader is all about you and how you connect with others. It's not
Mm.
just about financial numbers, the bottom line. Those things will come if you are there to know what's really going on in your company. And to really know what's going on with your company, you have to communicate with your employees and really listen and think about what they tell you. Think about it and say, okay, this is what this person told me. Is is this something that we can work on to make better? Or this is where we're really striving. We're doing great. You know, the
Mm.
feedback from your employees is so important, and you have to be open to listen. Now, there are some employees that are gonna, you know, try to take advantage of that. You have to
Yeah.
have boundaries, and you have to, you know, when somebody crosses those boundaries or gets right up to the edge, you need to communicate that, because you don't want to be taken advantage of either. So a
Mm.
lot of what I teach, and as you know, Angela, is boundaries. Boundaries in your personal life and boundaries in your work relationship lives. So, um, leadership is a lot. It's a big responsibility. And if you're just in it for a paycheck, which a lot of people are when they get into management, is that really what you want? Are you going to be
Mm.
happy in that job? Because
Yeah.
being in leadership is about knowing your staff and being an encourager and a motivator, and you have to have some empathy. You have to be able to build relationships with people, in a professional way, um, and know how to distance yourself in some, you have to have a balance in
Okay.
leadership with all aspects of your life.
Mm. Thanks, Patty, because I know that some leaders perhaps would have a different point of view to what you're sharing, but I know a lot of empathic people, and I know empathic people in leadership that need more, I guess it's guidance about those correct boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not correct that they're going to be the same for every person. It's going to be unique to your organization, unique to what your purpose is in your enterprise or your business or organization that you work in. But it's building that awareness as a leader of what's appropriate for the group that you're in and for the purpose that you're serving. And in terms of boundaries for the empathic people as well, I've worked a lot with that with the energy body. And that's what I'm bringing more and more back into my work. It's something I did with the dance healing back in the 80s and, well, not the 80s, the 90s. And I was doing it unconsciously in the 80s, but pretty badly as a child. And the understanding of your personal boundary for empathic people is another extremely important boundary. Like, what are you actually letting into your energy field? And when that is actually encouraging you to wallow in your emotions or get swamped by them, and also what can enhance your energy field and clean it and lift up the vibration of your energy field. So that's where I've got some strategies as well. If you want to check out the link below, Patty has her links there for both the article on the flotation tank and also Live Your Best Life Now, that work-life balance program. And in my link below, you can find the emotional management class. And also, if you want to learn more about the energy body, how to learn how to manage your energy field and literally lift up your energy so you can take in emotion but not be swallowed by it. I'm doing a program, and it'll be launched at the end of this month. So you can join the monthly newsletter link that I have in the description below. And then I'll keep you up to date with the Energy Body program that'll share more about those healthy boundaries in your energy field. So I wanted to give a big thank you to all of those who are joining us today. If you are watching the replay and you have some questions about, could be empathy, boundaries, leadership, personal relationships, pop them in the comments section. Check out the links in the description if you want to find out more about anything that we've shared today as well. And thank you so much, Patty, for sharing your wisdom and gifts about that leadership that is based on respect and empathy for everyone involved. And yeah, just wanted to leave it to you, Patty, if you have any closing comments.
Yeah, if you're watching the replay, please put replay and tell us any of your comments of what you feel we've discussed, or your point of view of what we discussed. We would love to hear your feedback of what you thought of the Facebook Live. And thank you for watching, everybody that's watching right now. And also, please put your comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts.
We really appreciate all the love hearts as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Okay. Thank you so much, Patty. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon,
Thank you,
Angela.
everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.